is a Cosmic Octave original podcast.
Me and Jake running down the street with a handful of comic books, kicking ass and banging chicks and drinking booze
No, not
and
me.
smoking
Not
weed.
me. I'm married.
Yeah, well,
I'm married.
Jake.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.
Welcome to. I know we're doing things a little differently this week.
Yeah,
Tyler.
it sucks.
It's a big episode, a milestone episode. Some would say. I don't have that on the board.
Well, I do. On my
I'll
board.
eat your ass.
Is that the equivalent of dun 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 on your board? Is
I
I'll
guess.
eat your ass?
I have some shocking news.
I'll eat your ass.
That's pretty shocking.
and then I will ask.
Alex Jones
$1 million, bitch.
It just gets better and better from
Yeah.
here, folks.
I could write a book about what you don't know.
I hope you're ready for that because that's one of the categories in the first ever, the 2022 OPOTYS, OPOTYS, Opti panels. Help me out here, man. What are you doing?
OPOTYS.
I'm going to say OPTYS.
Opties.
The other O is silent.
Opties.
OPOTYS.
Opties.
OPOTYS.
Opties.
The OPOTYS.
The opties.
Man, they have turned this episode off. So, yes.
You know what?
This is an award show.
You know what? Here's what sucks.
What?
If you turn this episode off, you won't hear me saying this. You're about to miss the greatest episode recorded in podcast history. And let me just say this thing. Before all these celebrities started making podcasts and shit, I've been doing this game for like 6-7 years. You get some jackass like, well, I'm bored. I ain't got no work anymore, so why don't I talk about this old show I was in and a million fucking people will listen to it. Fucking fuck you.
To those people, I say...
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
I would have done the misery. That's what you've chosen.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is what I would say to you, Tyler.
Misery, misery, misery. That's what you've chosen.
Truer words were
My favorite
never...
part of that drop is Tobey Maguire even sounds like an old man
We
in his 20s.
yeah.
Well, we talked about this last week. We think that look, if you're into the Emmys or the Oscars or things like that, if you're into that, fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't be into it. I'm just saying I've always thought it's silly, and I just thought it's just another excuse for Hollywood and the music industry and TV to jerk themselves off, and that's fine.
I agree with you.
And if you like watching it,
75%.
Look, I understand watching it and not having that take. I understand I'm cynical. But that's also because most of the times movies that I like will never get recognition.
Sure. Okay, so fair enough. I agree with you.
And a lot of these movies that are nominated, most of the time, there's a handful that are really, really like solid movies that are amazing and they deserve the recognition.
Right.
But a lot of the times they're fucking boring, and I'm like, and a lot of times I go, how is this a best picture?
Yeah.
And I know it's subjective and it's all to taste, but that's the thing. How do you put awards on something like art? Because it's not like sports.
How the fuck does Shakespeare in Love win over Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah, it's not like sports where you.
How the fuck does Rocky win
It's
over
not
Star
like
Wars
sports
in 1977?
Will you shut up? I'm saying it's not like
giving you
sports
examples.
when you have a definitive stat. I've been trying to get my point across.
No, I'm giving examples so people can...
Rocky is a better movie than Star Wars. We all know
You fucking asshole. You fucking cocksucker.
It's already contentious, and we don't even like award shows.
Well, no, I was going to say...
what I was
finish
trying-
your thought, sorry.
Yes, thank you. What I was trying to say,
But...
because this is the problem we run into. I have a point I was trying to make, and then you keep going on your tangent, and I'm like, that's a good point. I want to talk about that
Finish
thing.
your goddamn point.
I haven't ever time to finish my thoughts. This has been drinking too much of the champagne for the award show. No. I should be drunk to do this because
right.
this is how little I care about
You
our
know
award
what?
show. But
This is
anyway,
funny. You could have told me that, and I would have broken like 6 years of sobriety just to get drunk for
just
this.
to do that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how much I care about you
That's-
and this.
I feel so honored that I'm going to.
6 years? Fuck that shit.
Hey man, I got an addict back on the wagon. I feel great. But my point I was trying to make was this is the problem with art is it's so subjective. It's not like sports where you have a stat line and you could look at Tom Brady and be like, he's the greatest because he's won 7 championships.
Yes.
Where you can't really do that with this.
That's why it's funny because when you say like, Susan Lucci, Daytime Awards was nominated for like 30 years in a row before she finally won one. And it's like, and then you got like Meryl Streep who's won like 9 Oscars.
Or you
and
have
like,
a situation where look,
I think we can objectively agree that Meryl Streep is pretty good in anything.
Well, then explain to me how Leonardo DiCaprio has been snubbed all these times. Cause
well, here's the fun thing.
How can you look at him and not think he's one of the best actors of all time?
Here's
I
the
just
fun
don't
thing.
understand it.
Is the year that he won The Revenant, the year before, a lot of people thought he should have been
He should have got it for
nominated for Django.
For Best Supporting,
And
because he was fucking phenomenal.
Exactly. But a lot of people think that he was nominated for The Revenant because it wasn't the greatest performance, but because they snubbed him the year before.
He got one back for that.
Right. And that's why that also sucks.
It's stupid.
But are you done with your point?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to give you my take on award shows. My take on award shows is that they are fun, providing what you're looking at. Like, the Oscars are generally shitty. They take too long. Any funny moments you can probably find online the next day, so fucking why slog through that 5 hours?
That's the thing, too. They're really fucking long.
Fucking A. I've never sat through a Tony's, and I've never sat through an Emmys. I've only seen parts of Golden Globes, but I like the Grammys, and here's why. I, as a musician, and you should appreciate this too, being a musician, a lot of times you'll see something like, I think 2 years ago they had Lady Gaga and Metallica.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And
that's fucking cool.
It was surprising that it actually worked.
There was one year when Eminem was on the fucking hot seat because of his anti-homosexual rhetoric. I'm using quotes in the air, by the way.
And then he did this thing.
And then he
Elton
did
John.
at the Grammys. He performed with Elton John. He did that stand.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. You know, like, I mean, for me, if there's any, I don't give a shit about the awards. I was watching the year that Demi Lovato made her first public appearance after the overdose.
Yeah.
And she had written that song, Anyone, I think it's called. And every time I hear that fucking song, it gives me chills. And every time I hear it, it gives me a little bit of little misty because it is so beautiful. But here's the best part. I was watching that year. She comes out. She starts singing. The guy behind her is playing the piano. And she's crying. So she has to stop. And everybody stands up and just applauds for her. And, like, as an addict, as a recovering addict, like, that is something I can't describe to anybody who isn't.
Yeah.
Is just an entire room of people standing up and saying, we're still your friends. We still care about you. That was huge. So, yeah.
Have you seen anything that she's done since? Or
she's apparently done. I
guess
she's doing some sort of. She's doing some sort of like UFO thing. Original show with.
First of all, you're misidentifying her. It's they, them. Got to be careful with that.
Who? Oh yeah, she's a whatever.
They identify it. Yeah. They don't like to have she.
Oh, that's fine.
No, I'm just saying. That's something that's changed.
And I apologize. Yeah, no, I think I knew that.
Well, I know I don't want any tweets, but
no, you're right.
But here's the thing.
I apologize, Demi Lovato.
Here's the thing.
Love you.
Demi has since kind of. I get what you're saying about that, and I'm glad for her that she's overcome that. But I think she has definitely gone off the deep end, and I think that's just something where I think she needs therapy. And I'm not trying to say that as a joke. I'm legitimately saying that she needs help. But
yeah, and I'll agree with you because I watched like some documentary where they were talking about the actual overdose and what happened, and they actually like had like diagrams of the house and shit, and like people from the cops were, you know what I mean? Like they went through the entire
I know
day.
I watched it.
Yeah, and can I just say, most of the people that they were talking to that were their friends, I guess would be the way to say it, right? Whatever, are shitty little fucking hangers-on who have no business being around somebody who's in trouble and in crisis. In fact, these are the people taking advantage of her.
A lot of enablers.
These are the people taking advantage of her and enabling her. Anyway, yeah.
We're getting way off track here.
Point is that can happen too when a rich person gets sober, is they get stuck with these fuck faces who are like, you know. So yeah, she's doing like some sort of anyway. But that's why I like award shows. That's why I tend to kind of like one in particular. And yeah, the other ones can go fuck themselves. It's kind of like the draft. I love the NFL draft. I don't give a shit about any other sports draft. Just don't.
Yeah. Well, that's because you're a red-blooded American.
Well, I think like the baseball and basketball ones happen during the season. It's stupid. Why?
Well, anyway, we're going to move on. And
no, answer me.
I don't know. We're going to reset here because while we will talk about the OPOTYS,
OPOTYS.
we got some other things we have to discuss before we get into that.
Let's call them the patios.
News. Why?
I don't know.
You know what, man? Just turn the mic off. I'll do the rest of this show.
Fuck you, man.
That pisses me off.
What?
So let's talk about...
That just pisses me off.
That drives me up a wall. Let's talk about Boba Fett. Let's talk about the book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
First episode kind of flew under the radar.
Well, they kept saying soon, and then like 2 days before,
yeah,
they
they're
were
like, oh yeah, it's December 29th.
Yeah, by the way.
It seems like, also, I don't know why they couldn't have just waited another week and put it out in January. My guess is tax reasons. They're like, we have to get this. There's like some sort of thing where they have to get this Star Wars title out before the end of the year.
It's,
get
contractual legalese shit that's way above our pay grade.
Yeah, whatever the case may be, I thought it was just weird to have a show premiere on December 29th.
A little bit.
Whatever. Because you might as well just do it on Christmas at that point. Or New Year's Eve.
Maybe on Christmas there was one particular CGI
Day.
shot that just wasn't working. Did you think of that, Jake?
Oh.
Did you think about the fact that like up until the 27th they were having trouble with that particular CGI shot, and that's why they kept saying soon?
Jesus.
And then finally that guy who'd been working 60 hours straight trying to fix the CGI shot got it right, and all he got for it was a lousy $5 because he lives in Far East. That's where they do their in.
Anyway, let's talk about
You don't believe me?
Chapter 1, the first episode, which I was surprised they only released one. I thought they probably would have done 2 because I know Disney likes to do that. But I'm assuming just because Hawkeye did it recently, just because
WandaVision
they wanted
did it
to get
earlier
it
this year.
Well, they wanted to get it out
last
before Christmas.
It's January, isn't it?
So the only way they could have got it out before Christmas would have to be 2 in that particular.
Sure.
They wanted to. I think the whole plan of Hawkeye was to be able to binge it with your family over the holidays.
Sure.
So I think
there's a lot of people. I'm not one of them, but there's a lot of people out there who will wait until an entire like Disney Plus series is out before they binge it.
Yeah.
And I'm you know what, I gotta say hats off to those people just because like I don't know, I literally have to stay off social media the entire time.
I was surprised. I dodged a lot for Spider-Man. I was very surprised. But yeah, I agree with you, especially because the circles that I follow on Twitter and the podcasts and stuff.
And what Facebook
to.
knows about me, they're gonna put those fucking stories in my timeline.
And
guess who was in Spider-Man? Oh, you fucker!
See, that's the thing that the internet drives me crazy. So like we have these spaces in the internet that are great, where we have like film Twitter and YouTube channels and podcasts. I mean, like, you know, like what we're doing. This is fun to do. But at the same time, it's like, why is it so hard for the people on the internet not to spoil shit? And I'll be honest, Spider-Man's been pretty good. Even this, Book of Boba Fett, I didn't get to watch it until Saturday night.
Yeah.
So
that's a whole 4 days.
Yeah, so I was surprised I saw nothing. The only thing that I saw, which I want to talk about from the jump because I think it's hilarious. The only thing that I saw, and I didn't even watch it, but then I got a glimpse of it, but I didn't actually watch the clip because it's the beginning of the episode, and it's a huge spoiler if you haven't seen the episode. So we are going to talk in spoilers a little bit here about episode 1. So here's your warning. I'll give you the drop so you know when you hear Tobey Maguire telling you pizza time, that means we are going into spoilers. So if you haven't watched chapter 1 and you're worried about spoilers,
pizza time.
Okay.
It's so funny, dude.
So the only thing I know. One more time, just in case you didn't know. Spoilers.
Pizza time.
So what I want to talk about, the only thing that I really saw online in the like 4-day period before I actually got to watch it, was the beginning of it. If you watched Parks and Rec, there's a scene where Patton Oswalt is.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember what the was. He's filibustering for something. It's not important.
I can't remember. But it's great.
He describes how he would bring back Boba Fett
Mm-hmm.
to the filibuster, and how he describes it in the show is exactly how it happens on the Book of Boba Fett, which is fucking amazing.
Oh, Oswald is a huge guy in that community. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if they put that in as an homage to him.
Absolutely. Well, I mean,
just because he's such a nerd and he's been so overt about it for years.
Yeah. And then but I actually really like it because it's such a cool thing to do because
we never got to see it.
We never got to see it, and we've only heard about it in the expanded universe books.
Yeah, vaguely.
And I'm not someone who's read those or the comics or anything.
I'm not going to read.
So
anything.
me, who didn't read, the comics or the books, it was really cool to see it on screen.
Yeah.
And that's even funnier. Is like I said, I didn't really read into the expanded lore and the expanded universe.
Read the books. Ever since they cut off Dark Horse, I basically I don't really read. I read a lot of the Timothy Zahn books back in the day.
That seemed really shitty of Disney to be like, oh well, all that hard work and world building and all that. Fuck it.
Gone.
We're gonna definitely pull things from it, but we're not gonna even acknowledge it exists, which is shitty and that's annoying.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was cool.
They've kind of backtracked.
I like how they explained it, that he used the flamethrower to cut his way out. That makes some sense. But I love that it is what Patton Oswalt had said with the hand bursting through the sand and pulling himself out.
Yeah.
And it's a cliche shot, but it's just cool to see Boba Fett again. And we got to see him in The Mandalorian, but it's cool where he's front and center. And I think what I love about this first episode is it establishes that we're going to do more stories in this like seedy underbelly of the Star Wars universe, and I like that.
I read a review where this asshole called Robert Rodriguez a 90s relic and referred to Tamora Morrison as a wooden actor. And I just gotta say, man, fuck you.
I don't understand how you could read that because Boba Fett has always been a silent.
Oh, I read the entire.
Killer,
I get you.
But at least in the movie, the one the movies that we saw him in.
My thinking
he doesn't really talk that much.
My thinking is that there are two kinds of Star Wars fans these days, and I know it's more than black and white, but I think there's largely two Star Wars fans, and there's those who are the lore is a beloved thing to them. The canon is important and whatnot. And largely the sequel trilogy was awful, but what they've done since has been awesome. And then there are those who are just shitheads. I don't know what their deal is, but they don't like any of the Disney Plus. They don't like The Mandalorian. They don't like, this guy was like, the fantastic Western that was The Mandalorian. I'm like, I doubt you liked The Mandalorian. Because, dude, if you liked The Mandalorian, I don't know how you didn't like this.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's still a Favreau project. It still has Favreau's fingerprints all over it. So it's very similar. And it's, people talk about it felt slow. And I'm like, yeah, but I like the slower pace. I like that because
I was kind of hoping to see a Bomar Monk.
What The Mandalorian has done successfully and what the Star Wars stuff has done successfully on Disney Plus for me versus the Marvel stuff is they take more time and they establish things and build to something. Whereas the Marvel movies the Marvel shows rely so much of your knowledge of the MCU to go into them, and that does most of the heavy lifting of the backstory, so you kind of just jump in the middle and then tell your story. But with The Mandalorian, they had to build that up by themselves. And for most people, it's the best thing that has been produced by Disney Star Wars. Because, I'm with you. I think the sequel trilogy is a failure because there's no cohesive plot throughout the three movies.
We talked about this several times off the air, and
it's nice to see that synergy from The Mandalorian be put into Boba Fett.
I think since they've kind of given the reins over to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, it seems like things are more things are more cohesive. But here's the problem with Star Wars, and it's always going to be like this. They're never going to have the cohesiveness like Marvel does, where there's basically a head guy. There's always going to be
they
like
have
four.
Kathleen Kennedy. But
Yeah, and I don't want to denigrate anything that she's done, but she did greenlight those shitty sequels, and for money, not for any other not because she loved the trilogy, not because she loved the people and the characters, because she wanted more money. And Disney Plus hired her.
I think Solo.
Disney.
I liked Rogue One. I think Rogue One works
Awesome.
well. But
Han Solo is better than it was.
Solo is a fine movie. Like, I don't hate it. It's a silly,
It's
fun
fun,
movie.
right?
But
Yeah.
what it would have benefited of,
Hmm.
for me personally,
Yeah.
if it was a mini series on Disney Plus.
You know what?
But
I'm right there with
they
you.
didn't know it at that time. But I think
Yep.
that's what it should have been used for. I think it would have been better used as like a little mini series, because we are now in that era of TV because we have it with those MCU shows.
Yep.
We've already kind of established that.
Mhm.
Why not do what they do in comic books all the time?
Yeah.
And have a little one-off miniseries somewhere in the canon.
You know what?
And that's something to have just to hold you over in between movies.
Dude, that is really cool that you're saying that, because here's how I look at like Marvel, the MCU right now. All of the shows are like miniseries, and the movies are annuals.
Yeah.
You know, it tells one basic story
Mm-hmm.
and kind of furthers things, but it can stand alone. And the series obviously are mini series, like 6-issue mini series that you have to read, but there's a beginning and an end. That's how I look at it right now,
And that's why
it's fun to look at it that way, because it works. They do.
Yeah.
If you read comic books growing up like I did, the movies follow that.
They have come out and said that the Book of Boba Fett is meant to be a filler time between the Mandalorians season 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And if that's the angle they're going with, I like that, because
I love the idea that fucking Boba Fett is a new daimyo. I love that. That's fucking crazy.
I want to see more of that.
Yeah.
I love the idea that they're going to make him a crime lord. That's fucking cool. You
Right?
don't see that enough in Star Wars.
What?
Like that's look.
I'm excited.
The fact that he's the new Jabba, and the fact
Yeah.
that he fucking killed Bit Fortuna, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they're doing all that shit is awesome. Like, the fight in the town square was fucking cool with the shields and the assassins, and it just worked. And I love the casino scene. Like, they go in there and they give them the helmets, and it has full of credits. So like, okay, so they're a fucking mob. They're running protection now.
Yep.
And I think that's cool. We need to have more of that shit. I love that.
Right?
I
The
love
dark
that they're doing
underbelly, like the thing that is making these shows great is you're not, and honestly, it's a little detrimental to the sequel the sequel trilogy, because
know where
you
you're going
have
with
these
this,
legacy characters from the original 2 trilogies or whatever, these Skywalkers. You have these characters that are in the focus, and they have to be in these movies. The thing that is great about these shows is, yes, there's a main character, but that doesn't necessarily have to follow like the sky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I agree with you.
it sucks.
I think it's best for everyone if Star Wars moves away from the Skywalker shit for a while. I'm not saying completely throw it out, but I'm saying, like, yeah, there's so much more to this universe than the fucking Skywalkers, and it's frustrating, because and I think Disney's doing a better job with it with The Mandalorian and the Boba Fett show, because what they're trying to do is get those people in and be like, okay, we want to do more projects with
they're doing like the High Republic too.
Are people enjoying this Star Wars content without the Skywalkers? And The Mandalorian has been overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, but guess who showed up at the end of season 2?
Yeah, I know. I know that, but I know they had that in there, but I still think
Right, we just fucked our whole theory. No, it's true though.
And I'm interested to see what they do with season 3, because there is no Grogu as far as we know.
I gotta be honest. I would have been fine with it ending there. I don't know why we.
Yeah,
need
me
a
too.
season 3.
I think that I would much rather see what they do with Boba here and do something. And you're right. This is a great example of using a legacy character in the right way.
Ahsoka's getting her own show.
And also the fact that a lot of the talking and the interaction is going through Feng, and I can't think of the actress's name, but she does an amazing job.
Ming-Na Wen.
She's great in this.
She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too, so this is not her first nerdy franchise.
I liked her in The Mandalorian, and I'm glad that she's getting more screen time here. And she's honestly the brunt of the speaking, because Boba doesn't talk that much. And
She's a badass.
And I think that is still true to his character, because he didn't really talk much, and he was just a badass. He would just show up.
If you
and
remember, in the original moment when he showed up in The Mandalorian, and everybody's like, "Oh fuck!" I don't know if you remember this or not, but Fennec Shand was kicking ass in that fight. She's a bad bitch, dude.
Man,
easy on the eyes.
This is how I know I'm way into the show already. Was when he gets out and we have that it's a cheesy sequence, but I love it.
Yeah,
the suit up montage with putting it like the robots putting his armor on. I liked it because
I was shocked at first because I was like, this is something I haven't seen, but then I was like, this is fucking cool, man.
Well, I love it because it reminded me of the cool shit he did in The Mandalorian, with the kneecap missiles and that's the thing that I love about this show already is they did such a good job in The Mandalorian with how they portrayed him and what we've always wanted to see from him, with him being a fuck. Because we've heard so much of those movies of he's a fucking badass bounty hunter, but you never really saw him do anything. And then all this stuff happens in the comics.
Now that he's finally got his thing, you're all pissed.
And
Go fuck yourselves.
And for me, again, someone who didn't read the comics or didn't read the books, is finally getting a chance to see him be redeemed is fucking cool. And I love that fucking armor, man. I can't not get excited when I see
seeing it all green, all clean and fucking.
Ashley made fun of me when he gets the paint job on his armor and it looks like it used to. Because when he first gets it, it's all dinged up and torn apart. Which honestly, I kind of like that more.
Sure,
but
it's cooler.
When he comes out with that sleek matte black look or matte green look, and Ashley looks at me and she's like, "You're okay? Are you gonna be all right?"
We're just looking at it in the corner right now. He's got the Boba Fett helmet.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this is so fucking awesome. Like I said, when he comes out, it
was cool as fuck, dude.
For what?
Sorry.
And that's the thing. It's so weird that me not reading the books and all that expanded universe stuff, but I had a weird attachment to Boba Fett just watching that original trilogy, and I don't know why, because he kind of goes out like a bitch in the movies. So
he totally does. He doesn't do shit in the movies.
It's fun to see that character finally get justice.
He tracks Han Solo and Leia.
Also love the fact that
and then he takes Han away. That's literally all he does in Empire.
I love the fact that he's smarter in this, where he has an option to kill these two grunt-looking dudes.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for bringing back Gamorrean guards too, by the way.
I know, it's fucking cool.
Seriously though, I better see some fucking Bomar monks.
But I love the fact that
see him. He's living in Jabba's palace.
I love the fact that he uses them to his advantage, and he's smarter because she's like, we should just kill him, and he's like, no. You go, were you loyal to the person that you're here for? Yeah. Will you be loyal to me if I spare you? And they kneel, and he's like, okay. And it works to their benefit because they save him in the fight. Because he's like, again, I love that it shows Boba is smart, and Boba knows what he's doing. Because, again, in the movies, he doesn't really seem that smart, but in the Lucas, he doesn't. He gets knocked off a fucking platform. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's pretty bad.
By
a blind Han Solo.
Real quick, as we wrap this up, I love this sequence at the end with that big fucking monster. That
was
six-armed looking
crazy
thing.
shit, dude. Like,
when
what?
He takes the chain and chokes it and kills it.
Yeah.
That was fucking rad.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Homage to Princess Leia.
Loved it. And then the thing running with the fucking head.
I really wish we could see some sort of. I don't know if they're going to do anything in Obi-Wan, and you kind of would have to make it its own series. But the Tusken Raiders, Sand People, are my favorite characters in the Marvel, in the Star Wars universe.
They fucking rip scraps off people, and they fucking
because they're so mysterious, and their armor is fucking cool as shit.
Yeah, you saw they enslaved Boba. I made him dig and wouldn't let him even drink the water he was digging for. What the fuck?
Whatever.
Shitty people.
I would like to see more about the culture of the Sand People.
I honestly thought I was going to hate the fact that this was going to be set in Tatooine, but I actually like it that it's in Tatooine.
You know, you can mine Tatooine for story because you know Obi-Wan is going to take place on Tatooine.
Because it makes sense because we're telling a mafia crime story, and that's like the seediest place in the galaxy, so it makes sense to put it on Tatooine. Whatever. Anyway, we loved it. Can't wait for episode 2.
If you didn't like it, I suggest you find a new franchise.
Yeah, that's the thing. Star Wars fans are so fucking fickle nowadays.
What are you looking for?
Exactly. And we just want you to sit down and watch the show and just be like,
Yes.
let's wrap up the news. This is going longer than I expected.
sorry.
So let's just we're gonna skip a topic that we were gonna talk about.
Which one?
The Matrix one.
That's fine.
And just jump into Tyler's long box.
That was disgusting. My long box today, Jake, is gonna be when I was going through. I've gone through sobriety a couple times since in my life, and this time was been the longest so far. And I'm did it. But On Writing is a book by Stephen King, and he wrote it sometime in like late '90s, early aughts. And my mom sent it to me when I was having particular bad times with my alcoholism and stuff when I lived in Denver, and I read it. And part of it is, hey, here's how you become a better writer. But a lot of it is autobiographical. And he talks about like how he doesn't remember writing Cujo because he was so coked up and shit. And he's sad.
Maximum Overdrive. He said that when he apologized for that movie because he was
It's still fucking
ripped
cool.
off cocaine.
Whatever. It's still
I
cool,
love it
man.
for how
It's still fucking
shitty
cool.
and cheesy it is.
Yeah, dude. Fucking, you ain't got nothing to apologize.
It's 80s bad.
Yeah.
Where it's fun.
But if you're looking for, there are parts of the book where he's talking about, E.B. White's, it's like a book that all writers, like English courses in college, like you use as like a primer and shit.
Yeah. It's like a template.
It's kind of a famous book, actually. It's like whatever.
I've never read it. I've also never taken a college
It's also
writing
extremely
course,
fucking boring. So anyway, it's like Styles and Prose or some shit like that. But every course, whatever. Anyway,
but it gets you the nuts and bolts. Of
he talks about
writing.
having tools in your toolbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he talks about those can get, if you're not a writer, those can get kind of like long-winded, like, okay, get on with it. But the autobiographical parts are fucking fascinating, dude. He does not fucking sugarcoat anything. He talks about the fucking intervention that he had with his mom or with his wife and
You're
his
talking about
kids.
Stephen King,
Yeah.
addiction and
When
stuff?
he was like, and he was talking about how like he used to have, Tabitha used to dump his trash out and it'd be full of PBR cans and bloody tissues from how much coke he was doing and whatnot. And like,
which I mean makes sense if you're Stephen King because you're the biggest writer on the planet.
But he
for a
also-
long time. All your books are becoming movies. You're making millions and millions of dollars, and so you have access to coke. So
only when the last 10, 20 years or so has he been considered literary and not just horror, which he was Richard Bachman because back in the day,
yeah, when he
they
wrote the
only,
sci-fi novels.
well,
they
no, they had kind of an written policy in publishing.
you don't change genres.
No, that you don't have more than one book published a year by any author.
Oh, I
And
gotcha.
he's so prolific that he made Richard Bachman up so he could release more than one in each year. They finally raised it for him. They were like, fine, whatever. So he could be Stephen King and release more than one in a year, which, goddamn, he's published 70 fucking novels. Anyway.
Shout out to The Running Man.
Dude, have you ever read the book?
No.
Oh.
I heard the book's more like...
The book is fucking insane and
Yeah.
very prescient, believe it or not. Very, very poignant and pertinent for these days. Anyway, point of all this is...
I fucking love Stephen.
I fucking love Stephen King. I do. I think he's one of the best writers out there. He also talks about the accident he had when that guy hit him with the van.
I'm sorry. I still think of that fucking Family Guy joke.
Yeah.
Oh my God, are you Stephen King?
No, I'm
Dean Koontz.
Yeah.
And he backs him
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway.
No, seriously, fuck you, Dean King. Anyway, but he's also in a band called the Rock Bottom Remainders with a bunch of different authors called like Amy Tan and Dave Barry, and they play like different like conventions and stuff, and it's really funny because they're bad, but they, it's a bunch of a bunch of writers who also play music.
I think you would like his son's work, Joe Hill.
Yeah, I might check it out. All
Which I
of
appreciate
the family is writers, by the way.
Yeah, but I appreciate that his pen name is Joe Hill instead of Joe.
Yeah, he made it a point.
He didn't want to.
King was all about it.
He didn't want to rest on his dad's laurel. Which honestly, I haven't read all of his books. I've read Heart-Shaped Box, Horns, and Nosferatu. And Nosferatu's been adapted into an AMC show.
Mm.
Horns is a movie. what heart-shaped box is it? But I love
It's a
his work.
song by Nirvana.
If you like Stephen King, I think you would like Joe Hill.
I haven't read a book in so fucking long. I can't remember the last
only
time
books
I
I
read
read
a
have
book.
pictures. I read comic books a lot now.
The problem is that, like, and we talked about this, and we'll get moving on to the next thing because we got time.
Yeah, we'll wrap this up.
Yeah,
with
but the problem is
On Writing is what it was.
On Writing by Stephen King. The problem is what I was going to say is that, you know, since I've been, you know, so into my smartphone and stuff, and that one night I told you I dropped it in the toilet and I was so, like, depressed because I didn't have my phone. Like, I gotta break my attachment to my phone, man.
But at the same time,
That's a little.
But at the same time,
thing for me to
I
do.
read more than I ever have because I have my phone.
That's I do read a lot of articles online. It's just I'm not reading books.
Well, but I
Yeah.
that's the thing. I if there's a really good book that I want to read, I'll read it on my phone. I'll read an ebook. It was what I mean is.
See, I
and
won't. I have to have an actual
now that
book.
I have a tablet, access to a tablet, I've been reading more comics again
That's good.
because I can't do that shit on my phone.
No,
Can't because
but
the best way to do it is like the.
dude, I'm gonna need bifocals
Guided
next
view.
time I get glasses. I am.
Anyway, On
It's
Writing.
fucking terrible. Yeah.
Speaking of
That's a long
comics
box.
and me reading comic books, let's go to Jake's Unlimited.
Ooh, are we gonna do the thing?
Yeah, no, Unlimited. Anyway, I don't know what the fuck that was. I want to talk about this book because I have been on a huge Spider-Man kick lately.
Yeah.
Ever since No Way Home, I've just been fucking.
I've
up
never
to
really
my
been that much into
eyeballs
Spider-Man.
in Spider-Man
Sorry.
content. Well, I'll convince you. This week I want to talk about. I feel like the next few weeks I'll be talking about something.
Oh.
So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. I replayed through Spider-Man, the Marvel Spider-Man, the PS4 game,
Oh, cool.
and then Miles Morales, the like spin-off to that. Replayed through those, so I was really in a Spider-Man kick. So I decided I'm gonna look up because I have a Comixology Unlimited account. I'm like, there's got to be a couple Spider-Man comics I can read here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking, I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, hey, there's got to be a couple. And I say,
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Wow.
yeah. And then I think,
Ooh, look at the big brain on Spidey.
I've said that a couple times looking through these. But I found one that I started reading, and I'll talk about this next week. Miles Morales, Spider-Man.
Mm.
It's a series that started in 2018, I think, and it's still going. I read the first trade, and I'm reading the second one right now. I really like it because I think it was created around the time Into the Spider-Verse came out, so I think it's reintroducing people to who Miles Morales is and stuff like that. So someone who hasn't really read a lot of Miles comics, it's good for me.
Mm. I don't think I've ever read one, honestly.
But I
Not
dig
on
that a lot.
purpose,
But
I
that's for
just-
next week. The one that I really want to talk about this week is Spider-Man Life Story. This came out in 2019. It's written by Chip Zdarsky and art by Mark Bagley, which I fucking love Mark Bagley's work. He's amazing.
I remember. I'll tell you about Mark Bagley after this.
Anyway, Spider-Man Life Story is a concept that is really, really cool. And I think they have a Fantastic Four one that's going to be in this kind of line.
That'd be interesting.
But the concept is, what if, because I think Zdarsky originally pitched it as, what if the Marvel Universe aged in real time?
Yeah.
So all the stories that we know from each decade, they happened, but all these characters will age naturally. And I think Marvel said no to that, but they're like, why don't we just try and focus on one character and see what you do there? Which was great that he chose Spider-Man, because I don't know about you, but when I think of Marvel, I think of Spider-Man. He is the Marvel guy.
Yeah.
It's just like the same when I think of DC, I think of Batman. And so obviously you go with him.
Yeah.
And what's amazing about this is Zdarsky, you can tell he loves Spider-Man and he loves the history of Spider-Man, because each decade it's not a full decade of the story. It's like a snapshot of his life at that time, which I think is really cool. And Zdarsky knows what he's doing, so each decade he makes sure to hit everything. So in the 60s, there is a storyline with Green Goblin knowing his identity, but while you know the things that are going to happen, they play out differently.
Yeah.
The second chapter, it's the 70s, and it's by the way, they deal with Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of a civil war happening in Vietnam between Iron Man and Captain America, which is a really cool concept that doesn't get really fully developed in this because it's still a Spider-Man story.
Yeah.
But there's stuff like that in the 60s, and then in the 70s it's more of that, and Peter works for Reed Richards, and there's they have ideological differences where Reed Richards wants to hoard his technology, and Peter is no, we should give this to people. And he's one of the arguments was the indestructible suits, and he's if you can make those, why not give those to people? And he's well, that would crash the market because this. Then he's and then Peter Parker's are you fucking insane? They're human beings. We're still human, And it really shows you why Peter is such an amazing character, because he still wants to help people. And it touches on this throughout the story, but his personal relationships are terrible. He's kind of selfish, but he's also someone that wants to help people.
Yeah.
And it deals with that throughout the story. And it's really cool. And the 80s has stuff talking about the
Well, think about...
Dude, he even replays parts of fucking Secret Wars in the 80s part of the story.
Awesome.
He sticks true to the main continuity of this is how, because I think what he did is he took because it starts in 1966.
Yeah.
He's already been Spider-Man for 4 years. So this is a in his prime kind of thing. And so when you meet Goblin, when you meet these characters, you're dropped in expecting that.
Right.
All this other stuff that happened in the continuity did, and this is just a different version of how it plays out.
If you're...
it's like I said, a snapshot of each decade.
And Secret Wars happened in 84.
Yeah, but how he does it is...
So he would have been Spider-Man for 20 years by that point.
We skip ahead because in the 70s, how Gwen dies in this story is different. I'm just going to tell you this story, and you should read it anyway because it's fucking amazing, and I'm leaving out a bunch of shit. But in the 70s, we find out that Peter's working for Richard. Gwen is working for Miles Warren, who you may know is the Jackal.
The Jackal.
But he doesn't become the Jackal in this, don't worry, because that storyline's fucking idiotic. But anyway, and he's yeah, if you ever want to work here, you can, blah, blah, blah. So we find out through some stuff, and again, I'm jumping ahead, I'm leaving stuff out. Please read the book yourself. There's a sequence where Norman, in the first book, in the first issue, Norman shows her the pumpkin bomb behind the bar because they're at this party because Flash Thompson's going off into Vietnam. And he says, I know you're Spider-Man. I got bombs placed throughout this bar if you don't come in the alley and fight me. So he's all right, fine, fuck. How does he know? Blah, blah, blah. So they have a fight. Peter Parker knocks him out. Or Spider-Man, Peter Parker, whatever. Knocks him out. Of course, he gets amnesia because that's how comics work. And he says, oh, yeah, you were attacked by the Green Goblin, and I saved you, blah, blah, blah. And he has a conversation with Flash. Peter's a dick to him because he's oh, great, you're a bully, and so you can go kill people. That's really cool. And Flash is what the fuck are you... Why are you being a shithead? And then Gwen is hey, man, you should probably not say that to be shitty to someone who's going off to war. He's all right, fine. And I'm you were a bully to me and my life was rough. They make up. He goes, why did you volunteer? You weren't drafted. Why did you volunteer? And he goes, because that's what Spider-Man would do. And he goes, shit. Then I was Peter probably was well, what do you know? But anyway, that happens. And then the Norman stuff happens. I'm sorry. I shouldn't tell you the whole book, but the point is, it's great. I think if you're a Spider-Man fan, you should read it. You should own it. I read it on.
It sounds cool.
It's such a cool concept. I'm not doing it any justice. You really need to read it, and I'm sorry I went long on that.
So did I. I went long.
Well,
on
it's something that I really just fell in love with, and it was something that I started reading yesterday afternoon, and I just binged it all day. It was one of those books that was so good, I just finished it.
Give me your hand, buddy.
It's okay. The ending made me cry. Because you go
so
on
it's
that.
It's already finished.
Yeah, it's 6 issues.
6 issues?
Yeah, he does every decade. And like I said, it's a snapshot, so it's not a full telling of the set. So
right, of course.
So he
right.
And I'll wrap this up by saying he hits every milestone. So, like I said, in the 70s, it's
first time he whacks it and wet fluid comes out.
Exactly. 70s.
Whoa, that's what.
70s we deal with the death of Gwen Stacy. The 80s we deal with symbiotes in Secret Wars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also, he does an alternate version of the Last Hunt that's awesome.
Ooh, cool.
So he shoots Peter like he does,
Yeah.
and he stabs Peter. I mean, with the knife that's poisoning, and he's dying. And so he's in the grave with the tombstone. It says the same thing. But in this, Mary Jane's at home, and there's like a banging sound, and she's like, "What is it?" It's the piece of the symbiote that Peter took off of him and said, "I don't need it." He took it off of him. It breaks out of the jar, knows he's in danger, so it finds the grave he's in, breaks through the ground, and resurrects him. And he comes out looking like a Venom character.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, holy shit, that's fucking cool. And then he fights Kraven and almost kills him. And then that's when the teeth finally start to form and he starts to look like Venom. And so then that fight happens. He gets rid of the symbiote because Mary Jane, he gave her a failure safe. It's like this sonic gun that like will shoot it off of him. And fuck it. I'm going to spoil the end of this issue, but it's fucking incredible. So it ends the same way Kraven's Last Hunt does. He's got the gun. He's going to shoot himself. But the symbiote grabs the fucking gun and stops him from shooting. So then we find out that Kraven is Venom in this storyline.
Ooh, that's cool.
And it's fucking awesome. Like, you don't think you would want Kraven as Venom, and then you see it, and you're like, that's fucking rad. And then the Kraven Venom character looks fucking rad. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good. You should read it.
You should read it.
We are way behind
What
on
the
our schedule.
fuck?
So let's get into it. The first ever OPOTYS.
OPOTYS, the patios.
2022. Oh, patios.
The patios.
The pantyhose.
Pantyhose.
So we've got a grouping of topics here.
Let's talk about them.
We've got some nominees,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to discuss it. We want to be like, hey, who's the what? Who's the best? Who's the worst? Shit up.
Who's the best? Who's the worst? Who's got a big old butt?
All right, let's get into it. And these categories are categories that are important to us and you, the listener.
Yeah, it should be. If they're not, then you need to stop.
All right. So the first category we're going to go to is Best MC Movie. MCU movie.
Yeah.
And, of course, these came out. This is relating to 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So of the 4 releases that we had from MCU, our choices are Black Widow.
Starring Natasha Romanoff and Yelena Belova.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Starring Shang-Chi and Wen Wu.
We're not doing this every movie. Eternals. Yeah, nothing. Spider-Man No Way Home.
Starring Spider-Man, Spider-Man, and Spider-Man.
All right. So, Tyler, I think this one, we talked about how if we have differences, we should debate it out, but I don't think we have any differences. I think you and I are going to agree on this. I think the best MCU movie by far, Spider-Man No Way Home. That was my favorite. I would argue maybe my best movie of the year has to be Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, I kind of, there's not a whole lot of
Black Widow.
Not a whole lot of contrarian. I enjoyed
Black Widow
all
was
4 of
kind
them.
of meaningless.
I enjoyed all 4 of them for different reasons.
It was look, Black Widow. They're all good movies.
Yeah. Well, here's something really interesting.
Eternals, Black Widow.
I read Comic Book Resources, CBR.com is one of my favorite websites. I go to them a lot. And they had a year-ending all MCU projects from 2021 ranked. And so they did the TV shows too also, right? And they did from, I think it was 8 or 9 things, and they did it all the way down to number 1. Guess what they chose as the number 1 MCU project from 2021? Number 2 was No Way Home.
Number 1 was Black Widow?
No. Shang-Chi.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was really interesting. I could totally make an argument for why that's a better movie than No Way Home, but I have more of a relatable thing with Spider-Man than I do and these past movies and everything.
That's why this is gonna be different. I've already expressed just a little bit ago with Spider-Man.
It's hard to argue against it.
I fucking love Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's hard to
Spider-Man
argue against No Way Home being the best.
It is. Yeah, I don't know. I think the best one has got to be Spider-Man.
I think so too. Shang-Chi I think is a close second. I just don't. There's not enough of Shang-Chi for me to argue against No Way Home, honestly.
Right.
Yeah. So No Way Home.
Staying in that MCU.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. We're going to talk about the best MCU Disney Plus show. And we just like that's the thing to think about. Marvel released 8 fucking properties this year.
Yeah.
4 shows, 4 movies. It's incredible. So and 2020 was so barren, and you're like 2020 was so barren. Then 2021, you're like, oh, it's all over my face.
Yeah. It's on my face.
Oh, it's in my hair.
It's in my eye.
So let's get to the MCU shows.
It's in my hair.
The nominees are WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye. All right. Tyler, I went first with my pick. You go first with yours. Or in this category.
I am going to say...
I know mine.
I'm going to have to say... Loki. I don't...
Ooh.
My instinct is to say Hawkeye because it was so much fun. And really, you bring Kingpin back. I mean, holy shit. But I don't want to just keep picking like the latest one, because it's the last one that I saw.
Right.
I
you
would
want to have recency bias.
I have reasons for all 4 of them. WandaVision is great because they took so many chances, and every fucking week I was on the edge of my seat until the next show.
But it kind of falls apart when it turns into an
when
MCU
you look,
movie.
Yeah, when you look back on the show, you're like, why was I so like intense about this? Knowing that all of it turns out to be
honestly
red herrings for the most part.
Here's the thing: similar to the movies, well, I can see how you can make a case for Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Where in this, I see how you can make a case for all 4 shows.
Absolutely.
Because all 4 of them have things. I feel very similar, and they're really high highs.
We're not including What If because it's not.
Yeah, but each of these shows also has that moment of really like. Could have had another episode, or could have been a movie. Like this could have been shorter. This could have been a movie. This could have been, I think each show has that element to it.
Yeah, if I like out of a scale of 10, they're all between 9 and 10. If I had to rank them from 1 to 4, though, this is how I would do it. And again, they're all between 9 and 10, so they're all good. But if I have to do 1-4, here's how I do it. I do Loki. I do WandaVision. I do Hawkeye, and then I do Falcon Winter Soldier. And the reason why I put Falcon and Winter Soldier immediately at 4 instead of any other spot is because out of those 4 really good shows, it was probably not the best out of the 4 of them.
I think it could have benefited from being a movie.
Yes.
But at the same time, I also could see how it could have benefited from being longer because...
Yeah.
Like I said, each show has the same problem where they have to do this huge exposition dump in the last episode because there are only 6 episodes, and
you got to keep us guessing,
and that's going to be frustrating. I thought I loved Hawkeye. Hawkeye was my favorite.
I could make the argument for that too.
The reason I loved Hawkeye so much, and that's what I mean. I think there's an argument for all of them, but I think they all suffer from the same thing.
What was your reason for Hawkeye, though?
The reason because I think Hawkeye. Is while Loki was great because of the multiverse shit.
That's what really got me about that show. They finally get to see a version of Kang.
And yes, it's an exposition dump. But Jonathan Majors is so damn good and charismatic that I enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah. Plus Alligator Loki, man. I mean,
but for me, what works for Hawkeye. Is it does in WandaVision like bending reality and fucking with that? That's really cool.
Yeah,
and then the socioeconomic and the socio-political stuff about
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
They all have their different things.
Absolutely.
And what I love about Hawkeye is it goes back down to what I've always loved about the Netflix shows.
Yeah.
Is it's street level. It's so much smaller. It's so much more good. They're not trying to save the world.
Yeah.
They're just trying to
get a watch back.
They're also
and make it over in time for Christmas.
Exactly. It's simple. And one is like trying to clear their name and be their own person. And
I just picking Loki to be kind of a contrarian because I know that Hawkeye is pretty much far and away the best one. But I like Loki so much.
And another reason I love this show versus the other ones is they set up a cool concept of Black Widow and Hawkeye will always be friends.
Yeah.
So having Natasha's sister and Kate Bishop be like buddies throughout that like that final
That
fight
made
was
that
my
show
favorite part of
almost.
the whole
Oh,
show
yeah.
was when
Yeah.
they fought each other.
Wasn't that
because it
fun?
was so funny because that like we talked about it last time we talked about Hawkeye when she slaps her she's like what the heck what was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like because that minute of like I'm not trying to fucking kill you will you
Yeah.
stop it
Yeah.
it's amazing. So I vote Hawkeye, you vote Loki.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair assumption that both are great shows.
But I gotta be honest.
who really won? We did, everybody. As the viewer.
But you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and make an executive decision, and the award
it
is gonna
to
go
Hawkeye?
to Hawkeye.
Okay. I don't want, and it sucks because I don't want. I'm with you. I don't want it to feel like recency bias.
That's kind of what I was feeling, but it's
so
true
good.
though.
It's so good.
Both No Way Home and Hawkeye were kind of the best of all those
Yeah.
categories. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I did like Loki so much. Not better than Hawkeye,
yeah.
but in a different way.
And none of those shows, like I said, all of them have flaws. Like,
Yeah.
they could have done
All
more.
of
They
them.
could have done more with Kingpin. They could have done more with Jonathan Majors and kind of taken. So it doesn't, like I said, doesn't feel like
yeah.
a huge info dump.
Yeah.
It's just it's a lot to think about. And again, we've talked about this. I think that Kevin Feige should reconsider the idea of like these have to be 6 hours instead of just the idea of like why don't we just tell the story that we want to tell.
Yes.
Yes. Moving on to the next category. Most batshit insane movie of 2021.
Whoa.
Folks. Here are the nominees.
This is my favorite.
Godzilla vs. Kong.
Mm.
The Matrix Resurrections.
Mm.
The Suicide Squad.
Mm.
Venom. Let There Be Carnage.
I'm gonna go ahead and give my vote to Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad, sorry.
Okay.
And all four of them were great. All four of them.
Because of how ridiculous.
Yeah,
they
all
were.
four of them at different points you're watching and you're just like, holy fucking shit, this is awesome. You know, Godzilla versus Kong, especially that last final fight is just so fanboy.
I vote,
you know?
See, that's funny because I voted for my pick is Godzilla versus Kong because different reasons. But finish your thought. Is it the aspect of Starro? Because
I was okay.
there's so much in the Suicide Squad that's
So,
so weird, but
Venom,
it's so great.
Okay, so kind of again, I got to kind of go through all four of them and help me out with this. But Venom, Let There Be Carnage, that movie knew what it was and leaned into it, and it was glorious. All the performances were great, but it was kind of a stupid movie.
Yeah.
It is kind of stupid.
So Godzilla
was also-
versus Kong.
Yeah, so it's exactly, yeah. But it was so cool because you're like, this is fucking great because it knows what kind of movie it is. What are the other two ones? Matrix Resurrections just made me feel really good that those people are still doing their thing. And the Suicide Squad, to me, set up with their previews and everything. When you finally saw that movie, you had no idea that like half the people you see in the trailer, a lot, are going to be dead in 10 minutes. And that was cool. To me, that was batshit insane.
I think
here's all these characters. We're going to kill all of them right now. And then we're going to go into the actual team that you're going to see.
I think the reason I said Godzilla versus Kong because we had the whole Hollow Earth conspiracy angle.
You know, yeah, I fucking forgot about that, and that was one of our old school tinfoil radio shit.
While it's a fun idea for a plot, it's also like
Really
we shouldn't really
stupid.
be emboldening conspiracy theorists right now. But I'll
Didn't we do a topic on that on
we
tinfoil
did.
radio?
So
about how we shouldn't be empowering.
So I don't want to give that movie an award now. No, I love that movie, but I think you're right in a sense. I'll give you Suicide Squad because I think there's so many weird aspects to that movie. King Shark being adorable,
right?
John Cena becoming a fucking star with the Peacemaker, and just that character. Just to think to put that character in it, or Polka Dot Man, like just it's a weird, bizarre, wonky movie. And it is our most batshit insane movie of 2021.
Yeah, we agree on that one.
Speaking of the Suicide Squad, let's move to the best DC movie. It's Suicide Squad. No other competition.
Was there any other movies?
No, I don't think so.
I don't
That was
think
the
they
only
had
one.
any, did
That's why I
they?
put that in the category.
Oh, WW84 was
that
this
was
year?
2020.
God, I am so behind.
Yeah, no, that was last Christmas.
Okay.
Not this one, but the 2020.
So
You said the same thing with Birds of Prey.
So there was only one DC movie this year, and it was the
Suicide-
best DC movie.
Yeah.
Well, do we count Zack Snyder?
Oh, that's shit. You're right. I guess the Snyder Cut.
I
Came
still
out this
pick
year.
the Suicide Squad.
I still pick the Suicide Squad. I know.
The Zack Snyder,
Actually, I'm
Snyder
glad you
Cut
brought
was
up.
fun.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought up Zack Snyder
Yeah.
because we're gonna give out the
Oh.
first ever Zack Snyder Lifetime Achievement Award because there's never been a director
Yeah.
that has failed up like Zack Snyder.
The first annual Zack Snyder Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Zack Snyder.
And I want to say this out of love because I don't hate Zack Snyder.
Shouldn't it be the Michael Bay Lifetime Achievement Award?
You're right. Shit, you're right. Well, you know
Yeah.
what? Michael Bay will win next year, but Michael Bay will win the Zack Snyder Lifetime Achievement.
Yeah. Yes. Cool. So Zack Snyder Award
You know
is the
what?
first annual Zack Snyder.
Or should we change it to? I mean, I'd like to have the name of Zack Snyder on it, but should we have just call it the OPOTYS?
The Bay Snyder.
The Bay Snyder Lifetime Achievement Award.
The Bay Snyder Ratner.
No, fuck Ratner.
Well, yeah, we hate Ratner. But that motherfucker was doing the same shit.
We should give it just the Verhoeven because we talk about Paul Verhoeven all the time. The Paul Verhoeven Lifetime Achievement Award.
Sure.
Have you got Zack Snyder?
Well,
No,
you know what I like? I like to watch movies on James Screen. That's a thick accent there, Paul. Woo. That's why I'm being so.
what? It sounds like you have peanut butter in the room.
Well, that's the way Dutch people are fucking Dutch. Or else we're like super.
Beta!
All right, back to the action. The Zack Snyder Lifetime Achievement Award, of course, goes to Zack Snyder because, as I say this out of love, I don't hate the guy's movies, but just a lot of them I don't like.
And it's easy to paint. It's easy to satire.
But I
you,
gotta.
dude. It's
it
so
is,
easy.
It is, but I gotta give him credit because he got to release his 4-hour version of Justice League, and it honestly wasn't bad.
It was fun. I liked
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I liked it. But again, of course it was going to be better than what they released because you had 2 hours extra movie.
Also, you had like 10 years. You had like 8 years. How many years? 4? Like 4 years to think about it.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is you could tell this was kind of an idea to split it in two because this kind of feels like 2 separate movies mashed together to make a 4-hour thing. But I give him that because not only does he do that, but where most people can, he has his critics, rightfully so. We've joked about this. We've made fun of him, and we've said these. The man is still getting work. The man is still making money, and so I gotta give him credit that he still perseveres. And he and I think he handled a horrible personal tragedy with a lot of grace, and
especially when there were a lot of people that were trying to accuse him of this being a publicity stunt,
which is fucking disgusting,
awful, and terrible, and
so
shame on you.
All joking aside, Zack Snyder's won. Like, we can make fun of him all we want, but the dude has won professionally for sure. I liked the Dawn of the Dead movie. I liked his version of Watchmen. I really did.
I did. Yeah,
honestly, I don't hate Batman v Superman, even though it's terrible. I know it's bad, but I enjoy it.
Man of Steel was a great at the time.
I liked
it was
Man of Steel.
At the time was and it's still not a bad movie, but at the time was a really interesting way of retelling the Superman story. I remember when the previews came out, and I'd watch them in my bedroom like late at night when I was drunk, and I loved that voiceover by, Russell Crowe.
Dude, the fucking Hans Zimmer score.
You will teach them wonders.
The Hans Zimmer
and then he
score.
takes off that first teaser trailer. Oh my god, yeah.
How do
I
you
was
not
just so
cry?
ready. I got to tell you.
Anyway, Zack Snyder.
Yes.
Congratulations. I mean, Army of the Dead, Army of Thieves, like this whole weird zombie universe he's making for
man.
Netflix is happening.
Hey,
and
dude,
he's also got
Day of the Dead is one of the better remade.
Dawn of the Dead.
Was it Dawn of the Dead?
Yeah, he did Dawn of the Dead.
But that was one of the better remakes
Yeah.
of the Romero
I liked
movies.
it.
Yeah, it was great.
But here's the thing. He's also got this weird, what he calls his version of a Star Wars movie, like what he would make for a Star Wars movie that's coming to Netflix, like this big sci-fi movie. So again, Zack Snyder, despite what you may think, is winning professionally.
So the day I went and saw Man of Steel, this is really funny because I still don't know if it really happened. But the day I'm going to see Man of Steel, my girlfriend at the time was working at Ruby Tuesday over on Jordan Creek. We're going to see it at the Jordan Creek Mall. So I have to go in and grab her before we go. And, of course, we go into the car and we get high before we go to the movie theater. Sure. Now, I get high in the parking lot while I'm kind of waiting for her. And after a while, she's like, come on and get something to eat. So I go in and I walk in and I'm kind of waiting and I'm having like some chips or whatever and drinking water. And I'm really super fucking high. And I turn around and no shit, one of these like Benedictine monk dudes walks through the door. I'm not fucking kidding you. And I'm like, what the fuck? He's got like the rope sash and the belt. I mean, like the robe and the fucking hair, like literally like Friar Tuck shit. I'm not kidding. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Is this real? Like, I'm really high. Oh my God. I turn around and I look at my, again, my girlfriend at the time, and I'm like, and she's like, yeah, what? So I'm like, okay, I'm not like totally crazy. But then he talks to somebody, leaves, and comes back with like 14 other Benedictine monks. Okay? They're all walking in. They all got the fucking Friar Tuck hair. I'm not kidding you. And I'm just like, this is too much. I am too high for this. This is real, and I can't ever explain it to anybody because nobody will ever believe it was real. I'm not kidding.
So you'll always think of that when you think of Man of Steel?
Absolutely. It's fucked up because she saw it too, and she's like, yeah, that was so weird. Yeah.
Tyler, I'm going to ask you something.
Yes.
Did you do your homework? Because this next category is going to rely on you watching something. Did you?
Yes.
No, you didn't. All right. Well, we're gonna take a break and watch these trailers. And here's.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I thought we were just going to talk about it. I'm sorry.
Well, I want you to watch them because you have to.
No,
see
we
them.
can't. We can't.
It's fine.
It's fine.
A couple minutes.
Cool.
It's like 4 minutes. 5
totally
minutes.
Fine. Hey, I got time.
Fine. Anyway, what we're going to be looking at is the worst trailer of 2021. And I only have two options because there's only two that really stuck out to me. And I feel like you'd feel the same way. They're both football movies.
Okay.
One is called Home Team, starring Kevin James as Sean Payton, to tell a comedy about when Sean Payton helped coach a high school team.
Yes, I've heard of this.
Keep in mind, why was Sean Payton on suspension from the NFL? I don't know, for Bounty Gate? You stupid pricks. And it's a Happy Madison production, so you know it's dog shit. And by the way, these are both football movies, as I mentioned. So number 2 for me is American Underdog. It's the Kurt Warner.
Which I really want to see.
Kurt Warner biopic. And I hate to say that it might be a good movie. But for me, the trailer sucks. So
it does, but he looks like Kurt.
We're going to watch these trailers. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
So we just watched Home Team because Tyler had seen American Underdog. And let's make no mistake, I didn't like the American Underdog. You didn't like it either, the trailer.
I do want to see it, but
that is so much better than this fucking dog shit trailer.
Wow.
So we just watched Home Team.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to just, Tyler, you can describe how you feel, but I want to describe what I saw watching you watch this. Because you went through the same emotions I did. Because I was like, interesting concept. Is Kevin James going to do something that, we're just going to get the same fucking Happy Madison movie. We're just going to pretend we're going to slap on the old paint of something different of being like, well, it's Sean Payton when he was suspended. And
Sean Payton.
Again, before Bounty Gate, BT dubs. But this fucking trailer. So I'm sitting there watching it, and Tyler's just watching it. Okay. And it keeps going and it's progressing, and then it slowly, you can see the Happy Madison stupid shit creep into the movie.
Hey, here's a joke. Hell yeah, I want stuffed crust.
Hey guys, our team sucks.
Yeah.
The fat kid's ordering a pizza. Hey kids, there's this guy that's this kid that's sensitive and is afraid of contact.
Yeah, and he's the biggest guy on the team.
You know he's playing football. You've never heard this joke in a football movie before.
You know what my favorite part was?
No, let me describe it. Because the part in the trailer where Tyler officially, I could see steam coming out of his ears, and then also life coming out of his eyes, where he just kind of glazed over. Rob fucking Snyder shows up in this trailer as this hippy-dippy weird dude and gives them his homemade energy bars to the players, to which proceeds to the next scene of these kids who all eat the energy bars, puking everywhere, because puking's funny, guys. Tyler, How do you feel watching Home Team?
You know when the
Because that absolutely is the worst trailer of 2021.
Yes, that wins. But you know when the trailer actually drained the life out of me?
What?
Was when they kicked the ball and it hit the kid.
Yeah, I forgot that.
And
it hits the kid in the ass.
Right, not even close to what I could tell. I mean, at least it's been in one of the cheeks. But then he has to say,
"Oh, my butthole."
Because the formula for success over at Happy Madison is how many times can we reference body parts? Because that's funny.
Well, that's the thing. They know what they're targeting for. They want kids to watch this. This is not
they're going to get kids to watch it.
Air quote family movie, and by that means that they're gonna have kids make some funny jokes like ordering the stuffed crust pizza or the whole they ate those wacky energy bars, now they're fucking puking everywhere. Isn't this funny, kids? Because kids thinks puking and shitting is the funniest fucking thing on the planet.
But you know what? It's all going to be wrapped up in a beautiful story about a father and son reconnecting. Shut the fuck up.
By the way,
shut up.
I don't give a fuck about Sean Payton's kid.
No.
Because he's only there with them because he got suspended.
Sean for cheating.
Injuring players.
For cheating and injuring players.
Fuck Sean Payton.
Fuck Sean Payton.
Fuck the Saints.
Fuck the Saints.
And fuck Kevin James.
Fuck Kevin James.
Let's move on. Best use of nostalgia. Spider-Man No Way Home. This isn't fair because you haven't seen Ghostbusters, but Ghostbusters Afterlife, Matrix Resurrections, or Mortal Kombat. I think it's probably going to be unanimous here. I think we're both going to say Spider-Man. Yeah, Ghostbusters.
All four of them were pretty successful.
Ghostbusters did a great job of embracing the first two movies and carving a new path, but Spider-Man, it is 20 years of lore and embraces everything about its canon, and it's kind of incredible.
Matrix Resurrections is right there, though, for me. I really did get a sense of why I loved that first movie so much. It brought it back home for me how much and I loved how during one of the scenes in the beginning when he's going nuts, they literally Lana Wachowski steps into the role and says, "No, you fucking toxic pieces of shit. This is what the first movie was all about." Loved it. You all right?
Yeah. Next category.
Yeah.
Dumbest controversies.
All of them?
It's He-Man, not He-Woman.
No.
The Cowboy Bebop body shaming. Shang-Chi flopping at the box office is what a lot of them predicted. And WandaVision fan theories in terms of Mephisto and all the shit that went into that and the controversies behind that because it wasn't what they wanted. I'm going to say, for me, it would probably be the He-Man stuff.
I'll go along. Wait, okay. So it's He-Man.
Because
the second one I thought was the Cowboy Bebop one for me. As somebody who, I'm somebody who wants to see, what I see in the comic books on the screen. I want to see if that's adapted to live action. I want to see that, right? Okay. Here's the problem. And here's why the Cowboy Bebop shit is so stupid. And here's why I have realized that there's a line that I don't need to cross when it comes to wanting my things on screen adapted the way they, right? Because the woman she's adapting has impossible body measurements. Impossible. And she even tweeted, and I loved her for this. And she was like, "Yeah, we looked all over for a woman who had, and she says the measurements, which are literally physically almost impossible." And she's like, "Yeah, but all they could find was me." And dude, I just got to say this: I've seen her in a couple different things, and she does have the attitude for that character.
Yeah.
And as a male who grew up on comic books, which are largely sexualized, largely, okay. I mean, there were a lot of issues of my favorite comic books when I was 12, 13, 14 that I could use as masturbation material. Okay, that's how sexualized it was. Seriously. But I also know that it should, like, that should have nothing to do with anything. Like, breast size, ass size, like, physical, right, measurements.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing partly kind of when they cast Hugh Jackman, a 6'2" guy, as Wolverine, who's supposed to be like 5'6".
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Are they the person? Do you believe that they're the person when you
fictional
casted
character?
them? Yeah. Right? Does she embody the spirit of the character? Yeah. Fuck yeah. Does she embody the physical? No, because that's impossible. So to me, that was the dumbest one, because it exposes how fucking shitty toxic masculinity can be, because that's all about what that is. You don't have your tits aren't big enough. That's toxic masculinity. That's not anything other than, no critic is saying that. No critic is watching the Cowboy Bebop and going, it was really great, but unfortunately the actress playing the girl didn't have big enough tits.
Yeah, mine for Master of the Universe is simply because people were outraged about the first part of it being more about God, I can't think of her name.
She-Ra. Tila.
Tila, yes.
Well, you know what? Toxic masculinity rears its ugly head again.
Exactly. It's the same shit.
So you know what? I think we agree, and I'll agree with you on that. I think, you know what? Let's say that the dumbest controversy was incels raising their ugly fucking heads again.
That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to best sequel. Space Jam: A New Legacy,
No.
The Matrix Resurrections,
Mm.
Godzilla vs. Kong,
Mm.
Ghostbusters Afterlife, Spider-Man: No Way Home. I don't want to give Spider-Man a clean sweep,
Yeah, I don't either. I'm going to have to say
But-
Resurrections.
but
But
Space Jam's clearly in there as a joke.
fuck Space Jam.
Yeah, I don't really. It was an okay movie, but it wasn't like it would no award worthy. I'll give it to Matrix just to be different.
I'll agree.
All right, now this one's serious. Best
Yep.
drop of 2021.
Uh-oh.
Here are our nominees: Skeletor. What?
What?
One more time.
What?
The other nominee is from our buddy Alex Jones. Two from our buddy Alex Jones.
Wow.
First one is
$1 million, bitch.
one more time.
$1 million, bitch.
Or this other nominee.
I'll eat your ass.
Can we hear that one more time?
I'll eat your ass.
Okay.
And then the last one. Now this one comes in a little late in the year.
Yeah.
Bad mother crusher.
From our new segment, Edited for TV.
Bad mother crusher.
I gotta go with Is it any doubt?
What?
I mean, come on.
Alex Jones, I mean, he's got a strong showing in the category itself. Just because he's just, I mean, give me one was just for old time's sake.
$1 million, bitch.
I mean, he's just got that voice, and it's just so dorky. And we got one of the best Christmas gifts that I got. I don't know about you, Jake. Was when they literally patterned J. Jonah Jameson off of Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Like, they literally could not have made it any clearer that this was the guy that we used to make J. Jonah a fucking alt-right shithead.
Yeah.
Especially, also buy my supplements. That was great. So,
All right.
yeah, he does a strong
Let's-
showing, but Skeletor, man, and that music in the background, dude, just makes it.
Let's end this with the best movie.
Ooh.
We have
Yeah, we're going to have some.
Dune, The Suicide Squad,
Mm.
Spider-Man: No Way Home,
Mm.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, The Matrix Resurrections. I think we're in agreement here. I think it's going to be Dune.
I got to say Dune.
I was feeling Spider-Man. It's honestly, it could go hand in hand. They're kind of tied for me. It's Spider-Man and Dune are both great.
I hesitate giving sequels Best Picture credits just because it should be an original film. Now, Dune is an adaptation, but I think when you look at how difficult it has been to get that movie on screen successfully and how successful he was doing it and still remaining true to the book, I think you have to give that one to him, especially because thanks Shai Hulud, Part 2 is greenlit.
So that's been the 2022
Patios.
OPOTYS. Because they're in the toilet.
You're not going to let me.
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Thanks so much for listening to this very special episode.
Hey, before we go.
January tradition.
Before we go,
The
I'm going to go
OPOTYS.
ahead and give the listening audience a nice little bit of trivia.
Oh.
Do you know the name of the football player that was used to model for the sculpture for the Heisman Trophy?
I think I know.
Mm-hmm.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Yep, that was it.
It was Spider-Man himself.
Yep. Fucking Spider-Man.
No, who was it? I don't know.
Ed Smith.
Who the fuck is Ed Smith?
He was a guy. Do you know it took him till 19...
He was a guy.
He was a football player that worked with the guy who set up the Heisman, the guy named Heisman who set up the award, and died shortly after, which is why they named it the official title is the Heisman Memorial Award.
It's funny you say that
It's not
because
just the Heisman Award.
people don't know this, but his favorite catchphrase was,
Shut your face up and do it!
Yep. That's why he had that heart attack so early and died right after he created the award. He was so pissed all the time.
God!
Damn it! Fucking...
Shut your face up and do it!
Nike.
That was set up in the 30s, and it wasn't until 1982 that the guy who actually posed for the statue got one of his own.
Well, there you go.
How long does it take you to realize, yeah, that one weird weekend I spent with the gay sculptor in the 30s when there weren't a lot of gay people around, or at least, out.
Does that look like me? Anyway, that's going to wrap up this week's episode.
Julio, I'm not sure if we need to do this pose again in the nude. I need to be having some pads on at some point, buddy. Yeah, that does feel good. What about it?
And that's it.